This is the Geek Protagonists, and this is the series before you get to the Force Awakens, and this is Star Wars Resistance. Yes, so as I've reviewed Star Wars Resistance, I heard a lot of people just reviewing the show, kind of getting a feel of it. And there's a lot of people who say it's kind of childish and Disneyfied. I'll give them that to a point. It does have a little Disneyfication in it, but the way I see it, I'm noticing people, instead of taking these things out in the chunks that they are, they're comparing it. Like a lot of times, I'll run into it where they start comparing it to the previous series, especially Clone Wars and things like that. Even though Clone Wars didn't have all the greatest episodes either, a lot of times I notice when people are referencing things, they're referencing later things. So, anyway, this is very clear that this series is for a younger audience. Now, you have the guy, I don't remember his full name, I just remember most of the time they called him Kaz, so I'm just going to call him Kaz. This dude was a super goofball. He had the hijinks, but then yet in the cockpit, it was like he was a beast. But I can say that it kind of went over the top a little bit. Like, he could sit here and be like, oh, there's a pencil. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like, I was like, all right. I guess they're going for that anime funny protagonist feel. But I will say this, but then, yeah, when you see him in his cockpit, though, he's like a monster. Now, I can say this. Out of all of the cartoon shows, of the ones I have viewed, in all honesty, this one had the most concise, direct plan than the previous predecessors, and that even includes Rebels. Star Wars Clone Wars was jumbly, whether people like it or not, it was. Rebels had a thing where it started off at one tone and ended at another, and some people found that to be jarring. I actually thought it was good because you actually saw the progression, and the tone got more serious as the progression got more serious. This one established it and kind of held on to where it was at. But both do have their, standout episodes and their funky episodes, whatever. The first season felt very mapped out, very well. They didn't go over, Clone Wars did take some risks, and you did see some people get murked because it was a war. And I love when people do, and this is for kids. I'm like, Caravan, man. And Battle for Endor, whole family got shot. That was for kids. See, us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, we're used to this. It's like they went to the stint of softness, and now they're kind of getting back to the more toughness, and they're like, this is for kids? The Green Lantern cartoon show, first episode, you see people die. Come on. Yeah, I get it. It does show the violence, but Avengers had death in it. As long as there's not a bunch of blood and gore, it's, get over it. Even droids had a death. Seriously. Anyway, because people use that and go, see the difference, see the difference, see the difference. So, no. Now, as this happened, like I said, the series felt more mapped out. Clone Wars grew with its fans, especially towards the end. Rebels, I think, really started honing in on their audience by the second season. I think, and towards the end of the first season, I was gripped immediately, but, some people, it took them a little longer. Now, Resistance second season felt more of the same, even though it had some set plots. And what I mean by that is, if you watch Rebels starts off here, okay, kid, some cool stuff. Oh, cool Star Wars. Then the second season, it kind of turns it up, gets a little bit more deeper, gets a little more serious, gets a little bit more. Then by the third season, it's like, okay, the stakes are getting really high now. And then the fourth season is like, oh, wholesale people are super dying, and there's loss, and this is kind of sad in some aspects. It changed its tone and did it. Clone Wars just got super serious, as it kept going, and it got very dark and stuff because it needed to set up the premise into the next series. So yeah, this one it kind of stayed like this. It had its episodes where it went like that, but it kind of went like this, and the second season went like this, and then back to that. See what I'm saying? So you had stuff that they could have did plot threads on, but that it did stand out. So like the character Tam, when she joined the First Order, that actually really stood out. It was like, yeah. And just in case if I didn't see anything, and I do apologize, I've been saying it the whole time. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. You should see it in the description. But yeah, like that was a big thing. And that, I got to give it to them, was kind of a big hit. And mainly because she felt betrayed, and the First Order kind of coerced in, like, we don't betray, we're good, we know what we're about. So that was actually very interesting. It did have some filler episodes, like the Vox Vortex thing, so I did feel like I didn't understand why they did that. And overall, this series, it had a lot of potential, and it was very solid. They said it was 2 seasons planned, and I think this was a filler series, basically. So what I mean by lots of filler, I legit think that this series, it just told you some story. It gave you a little background to things, but it was more of, hey guys, we're going to give you Clone Wars Season 7, but until then, here's a Star Wars thing, you know, about the pilots. Yeah. So it felt like it had potential, and I can even admit this series didn't grab me like the previous ones did. But it has its space. I'll say it like that. It has its place. With it, its space. It has its place. So what you also see here was that with season 2, the finale felt like an end. Basically, when they ended, a lot of the plot threads that they set up between season 1 and into season 2 do get closed down by season 2, and I got to give them props for that. Like, it does feel like a complete series, and it's not a hard watch. And there was things in this series I actually did think that worked, but it did. Like, if you watch it, I don't think you would sit there and go, oh my god. Like, if you just let it, watch it for what it is, it works. Like, you're like, all right, okay. Sometimes when like characters, things go and it makes it better, but Kaz did kind of start to make you want to punch him in the face after a while, because it was like he was goofy to a level that didn't make like, I was like, are you really that stupid? How are you alive? Because you're a good pilot? Okay, but that the rest of your life you're like bumbling. Oh, I turn this key. Oh, where air everywhere, like stuff like that. Kaz is an anime protagonist. You can see the inspiration, you can see the stuff, but they kind of took it a little further, and with a little bit stronger character growth around everyone else. Even though they did have some good stuff, they never deep dove into anybody, and I think they did that on purpose. They did enough that you're like, okay, yeah. But you saw him a little different. He's now you would think he's a kid hero, then you come to find out they're like young adults. I thought they were all teenagers. But, alright. And my thing is, the best comparison I can give you is that Kaz is like Ahsoka and Ezra, but I think one of the reasons why it kind of didn't grab people as hard is because these characters are actually older. See, Ahsoka started off young. I think she probably started off around like 13, 14. I'm guessing. If I'm wrong, sorry. And like Ezra started as a teen, like a kid. Like he was like a preteen. He was like 11 or 12. And as the series progressed, there's a time jump. He's like, by the time you get towards the end of the series, he is a man. He's a young man. You get what I'm saying? Like, but this dude was already a man. So I could see that in how this may not have meshed, and how as an adult it's like, okay. But yeah, the fact that I couldn't tell they weren't kids, I thought they were like teenagers, does definitely say something with some of the dramatics. But later you kind of do see them go into that adult mode more. And I will say this, that Kaz does go outside of his comfort zone a lot to learn a new skill, and that is something I will give him. That was a good character trait. His flaws was his clumsiness, but he was a guy who was like, I'll try anything kind of thing, and I thought that was a really cool thing to take on that character. I did like when he flies, he turns on. Like, you see everything change. It's like he becomes laser focused, he becomes intense, he becomes strong, and he still had to learn his lesson, and I thought that was really good. Tam's arc to the First Order, to me, was the standout of this series. Like, she took on lies because of what was going on. Everybody was trying to portray her. Kaz, and then she started to notice how with like Poe's in it and a few others, but Kaz seems to just get away with everything because. So I did like that, even though he was annoying, there was consequences because she was looking at him like, why is it that he breaks everything to do it, but if I do that exact same thing or something, I get like annihilated. And I thought that was good. Tam was a great character. The Aces are racers. So what I mean by that is there's this group of the Aces, and Star Wars does seem to focus a lot on racing. In the Droid series, they had racers who end up doing something else. Like, it was like a lot of racers ended up being something else. They usually join the rebellion. But the Aces, that was a good story because they had to learn how to work together, and they became awesome when they did. Even against the First Order, it was like they kind of went from here to here, and I thought that was another standout for me, how it built up. I thought it was good. Phazon is the only one in the show who's like the super duper cocky guy. And it's interesting to see how he's all like that, I'm the guy, I'll do it. But as the thing goes, he starts to calm down. He's still, conceited, still very cocky, but he kind of starts to learn that he does need the team and how it works together. Does really, really well. And I thought that was cool. And I don't know if I'm saying the name right. DC on but I do see on a personal level that for some of the characters, they didn't go as deep as they could have, and they could have added more to it. But I think because they knew if they would have did too much and not had the plot thread breaker, it would have turned into something where it's like people would have wanted more, but in the wrong way. I did like that Poe, and it was like Poe after the Star Killer base thing, and you actually do get to see, this is like before the Star Killer base, but you do get to see how Poe is a little bit of a commander, how he functions. Very, very, very good job of Poe. If you are a fan of Poe, you should watch this series. You get a little bit more of him. Like, you actually do get a bit of him, the type of commander he is, and the things like that, and that was really good. The second season with the Colossus, that was cool where they were on this thing called the Colossus. And I did find it weird that they didn't join the Resistance. And I would have liked to have seen that for the larger fight. It still worked for what they needed for, but I was surprised they didn't go more. Series, they did, however, kind of depend on BB-8 or Poe a lot. And it was like, that was their way of going, Star Wars. You see, like, I think I remember Craig, saw Leia too. But, like, they kept going. Poe, any episode Poe was in was great. Kaz, he also set Kaz straight, and Kaz really responded to Poe very well. So I think that was very good. But also, it was a lot of times you would see hijinks, you would see BB-8, and it was like they had to keep trying to remind you it was a Star Wars show. And with Kaz, he gets over the top, it was like, okay, but then it felt like I need to be funny. So when something happened with the Ewoks are kind of clumsy and stuff as is anyway, and they're kind of cutie little teddy bears. This guy's a grown man, and like he was tripping over. He had 3 left feet, and it was like something would happen. He would be in a door. They would open the door, and I'm like, really? And then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Like, remember if you watched Family Guy ever, where Peter Griffin said he forgot how to sit, and he, like, fell all over, and it was like that. It was like the guy forgot how to walk, how to sit, how to do something. He forgot how to write. He'd be like, I'm going to write this. Oops, I swallowed the pen, So that kind of detracted from it, but after a while, they did kind of lighten up a little bit on it, but I still felt they should have lit up a little bit more. But I guess they wanted to keep him as consistently the same guy. The other characters, like I said, really straight. Poe is definitely in charge. He did fix Kaz's goofballness. I like him. And for him being one of the side characters, like I said, Poe really works out in this show. That was a huge standout. I'm repeating it because it was. It was like sweet to see Poe. And also, too, the visuals in the show sometimes do fall a little bit. Like, I don't try to always be a stickler for this guy. Get the animation, but there are times where it just kind of goes out, and you're like, I don't know, it's just a little weird. I don't know why. Also, too, that's another thing. So for the sounds and things, Star Wars is known for its unique sounds. Well, there's this thing that's on there. It was like a dog or something. I don't remember someone saying it goes yep, yep, but like everything it does is yep, yep, yep. Panic, yep. Scared, yep. Happy, yep, yep. Soft, yep, yep. Sleepy, yep, yep. Like it was like that every time. And for the explosions and things, like some of it was repeat, but some of it felt like they literally just like, we need a cat sound. Here, throw the cat sound on, meow. Throw the dog sound. It didn't feel like they tried to mess with it too much. But in this series, it was also interesting because you would see the rise of the First Order, and I liked how it grew, and it wasn't violent yet. Like it took items and time and stuff to get to the point where they got to and learn stuff. So what I mean is like there's a situation where Poe and the First Order stormtroopers are there, and they have a gun with Kaz, but they don't blast off. They kind of just back off and go, look, I don't want this, you don't want this, and they kind of did that. And you saw how it didn't start off where it went the one way. You hear my cat? That's what the sound was. Hey, kitty. What's up? What's up, dog? And yeah, so that's how the series kind of went. Yeah, she's been upset because I've been like recording like crazy and not showing her all the attention like I normally do. And then right, yeah. But it definitely is a strong series overall. It's good with like, and I mean the series of like the characters, how they do the characterizations. Everyone is who they are. So when you see someone at the thing besides like Tam and a few others, there's like side characters. They're actually good side characters. I gotta give it to them. They really, really were. They were good. But Poe definitely is a standout in this series if you're a Poe fan. He's not all over the series, but he's in the series enough, and you do really get to understand the mindset and how the First Order got where they were. So it wasn't just the beginning of the rebellion resistance that was growing. You also see how the First Order got to where they got to, and how they weren't always so quick just to be, I'm indoctrinated now. So this one's starting to run a little long in the tooth. I'm going to say that this series, if you're a fan of the stuff and you're a fan of Poe, is good. But and the ending. I want to give the ending a little prop before I give it my final rating. So the ending, I thought it was very well done. It showed people connections. It showed them concise. It was very clear. Very good endings. When they did that. I would like to see some of these characters show up later if I don't remember seeing them in later stuff. Maybe they were, but they were kind of like, they're going to probably retcon them and say, that's Kaz over there. That's Tam over there. But I would like to see these characters show up in later things with a touch of more like the group and everything. So I'm gonna give this series a Dawn. Okay, you gotta go lay down, baby. I know. Don't give me an attitude. I'm gonna give this series a bacon. It needs some bacon. A good side of the needed bacon, not the burnt bacon. Maybe I'll do that, but I like it the way I got it for now. It works. If you sit down and you watch it, you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna hate it as long as you're not sitting there going, this isn't Clone Wars, why is this Clone Wars, or Rebels, why is it Rebels? Like, yeah, as long as you're not doing that, you're just taking the show for what it is. It's not a terrible show. The animation quality, I thought, was overall solid for what they were trying to do. The sounds is normal sounds. I feel like the other ones are more powerful with the animation because the way they did it, very consistent. This was like more like shell shading. The characters were a little bit more goofy overall, but there was their serious moments. It was a nice addition to Star Wars, and it's a quick watch. I don't remember exactly how many episodes, but it's 2 seasons. It's not super long, and it's a nice watch to get on your Star Wars lore. Yeah, so like I said, it needs bacon. That's pretty much it. This is Geek Protagonist. Next comes Star Wars The Force Awakens. So I will see you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. Geek Protagonist is out. And I'm definitely enjoying this. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos, if you like what I'm doing. Please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.